listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside normal new host
Sean Sebastian
and
Keith Cheatham.
Oh, guys, guess what? We've got a special guest this week.
We do.
Very special.
A very special guest joining us for the very first time on our show, Mr.
Brad Leslie.
He's here. He's watched us before in the past. And yet now he's here in our studio, joining us for the very first time. Brad, how's it feel to be on this side of the camera?
It's great, but I tell you, if I'd known I was going to be on TV tonight, I would have done the Botox injection.
Oh, you would have dressed up a little bit for us then. Yeah, thanks. You know, well, your hair looks great.
Thank you. It does. I've been working on it.
You've been working on it?
Yeah, it's a new clear coat.
Oh, it looks fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you know, normally when you get out of the shower, just
yeah.
I actually don't even have to do that. I just kind of like going.
Well, we are very happy that you could join us.
Thank you very much
tonight.
for having me this evening.
We have a great show planned,
awesome.
of course, as we do every
we
single Thursday
we always
night.
plan for a great show.
It's just funny because we're starting a little late.
We're having little hiccups here and
I
there.
was a little,
and,
I was a little dozed off a little bit. Maybe
Brandon snorted some coke, and we had to put him in a cold shower and get him going.
Yeah,
The lateness
Kids,
was not my fault.
I was just tired.
don't snort
What can I
Coca-Cola.
say? Yeah, definitely don't do that.
No.
Don't snort Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Francis Ford Coca-Cola should know something about that.
Don't
No,
do drugs,
Brad,
kids.
there's another reason, you're joining us tonight, and that is, sadly, because you are one of our biggest fans
Yeah, I am.
that tune in every single week.
Every week I am here watching.
And
Giving us great ideas for the show. This is the man that convinced me to do the Universal Monster reviews.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Here he is in the flesh.
So to speak, lots of it too.
But we are also very sad to announce that as we were planning on having you on future episodes, because you also have a very, hope to be even more lucrative in the future artistic career that you have on Facebook.
Hopefully, yes.
you're joining us tonight because you're moving out of the Louisville area
I am
and
moving out of
moving
the
to
Louisville
the
area.
great enemy of the North.
The great enemy of the North, otherwise known as Hoosierland.
Hooterland or Hoosierland?
Oh, one's very different. One would be wonderful. The other, not so much.
Not so
But,
much. Well, tell us a little bit about, for one, just your artistic background, because something we're looking forward to doing in the future, relatively soon, here on Red Moon, is to
Hashtag
actually,
one day.
yeah,
Yeah.
like so
Yeah.
many things, is to actually get, I don't know, get our toes in the sand a little bit deeper with the local artistic community.
We want to invite people on that have talent, and you're definitely someone who has a lot of
We don't
talent.
have any here.
Thank you.
As you can tell.
Yeah, we're late.
So yes, Brad, if you could just kind of give us an idea of what it is you do on the side, and also even plug your own Facebook page.
Oh well, what I do is draw. I've been obsessed with pens and pencils and brushes since I was a kid, watching Scooby-Doo cartoons. That's what that's what started it, right? And Spider-Man on the Electric Company. When I discovered Spider-Man and comic books and cartoons, and I realized that somebody does this with a pencil and a pen, and I want to do that.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's I've been drawing all my life.
Awesome.
And it tends to go along with the things I'm interested in, which are the comic books, horror, science fiction, the spooky side of life, because it's more fun that way.
Yeah.
The color, I will admit, intimidates me. I tend to do mostly black
This
and
is
white.
not how I would have loved to have shown it, but if we can, I'm gonna ask Keith or Sean. Can one of y'all pull up?
Yeah.
His page, and maybe
Absolutely.
in the future we plan to have you back.
I
Of
would
course,
love
we
to
want
be
you
back,
to come
yes.
back. Maybe just
Absolutely.
visiting us, in the this is kind of a last minute.
Yeah.
You
know,
may be-
because-
Right.
Yeah, partially while we
You
were
may be
late
moving
was
to
throwing everything together to have another person.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
What were you saying?
I was just saying he may be moving to the butthole of America, but but you do plan on making visits.
But with
so.
this
Oh,
art,
yeah,
he will make
yeah.
that butthole much cleaner.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay?
Uh-oh.
So
Oh,
you're
God.
saying my art is toilet paper? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
your
well,
art
it's-
is going to brighten
It's
an
going to
otherwise dreary
We're gonna
place.
clean the arse of America, okay?
As I told my brother when he congratulated me on the new job and moving up there, and then condemned me for being a Hoosier, I said, "Man, I'm about to take some class up into that joint." So that's
There you
go.
boom. There you go.
I-
You're gonna teach him a lesson.
I'm going to reform Indiana, folks. It's going to be
Gonna happen.
it's going to be
Yeah.
Kentucky Part 2.
How are you
Whoa.
wanting to pull these up on here?
I'm
Or
just
you
all I'm wanting to
have to
do,
show 'em
Keith,
on the
is
camera.
just you
Just turn it
you
around,
turn
turn it
that
around.
you turn that
Okay,
iPad
okay.
around.
Well, I mean, I know
And then-
this is. You say you're. Let me show. I guess I'll show the black and white version
Yeah,
first.
show
since
some of
you're-
the.
Yeah, I'm
Since
better
you're
with
more-
black and white than with color.
I mean, you actually have kind of a series of. Let's
Yeah.
see if we can focus.
Oh
on
yeah,
this.
yeah, that's
That's
perfect.
works in progress is what that is. Yeah,
And
and
so
that's
that kind of. I mean,
Yeah,
there
keep
we
going.
go.
Is there any? Is there
So-
some more there?
Oh, there definitely is. I was trying to
was
show
gonna say,
his
can it-
artwork and not.
well, I've been posting
Oh, that's a
something
great
new
one.
There you
every
go.
day
That's a good
for.
one.
That's a great.
Oh yeah,
one
my,
right there.
That's
my
a-
Frankenstein there. Yeah.
There we go.
Man,
There
look
you
at
go.
that.
Over
crazy.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
See, that's the
go.
kind of stuff that I like to do. I mean, when I'm sitting and talking and on the phone, there's always a pencil in my hand and I'm doodling. And,
Yes.
And speaking of which, that's
Again,
that's the brand
we got
name,
some
Beatles
more, I think,
Doodles.
work in progress.
Yeah, one of my
but
dragons I'm working on there.
there are many great things on here. Let me
Yeah,
see.
I'm
what
doing
else
a
we
lot
can-
of digital stuff now too because that's.
Oh,
fun.
I love this
my
one.
favorite.
I love.
Here we
this
go.
one.
What's the other
Yes.
one? Let's
We got
show
there.
that.
These, of course, he was doing over the course
Oh,
of
yes,
Halloween. But
yeah.
as he said, he
Oh,
likes the
screen.
spookier side
Yeah.
of life as well.
Yeah,
So it's
that's,
like
that's good old
three-dimensional.
fashioned
It's
charcoal on paper. That one. So,
That's
Yeah.
pretty. That's
There you go.
all impressive.
All
Oh,
of it.
who's got another one?
Knocking
Gosh.
I'm gonna keep.
Oh,
I'm gonna
yep.
keep going, man.
Oh
There's
wow!
some great.
Wow, what was that? Whoa,
Great,
whoa, whoa,
great,
whoa!
great.
What was
Let
that
me-
designed on?
that was done on my computer. On
So you are, yeah, because I know that
Well, that's
a
not
few
one.
months ago when we were first, we first started the cigar group over at
the cigar
Brian's.
club.
Brian.
It was like we, you first dabbled in art, or you were telling us that you were dabbling a little bit in computer art,
Right,
But it was
right.
not your forte. That you weren't really. It wasn't something that you looked forward.
I mean, even
to getting
There's a
into?
learning curve.
I know,
Yes.
I know you're
I was
afraid of
at the-
color, but even this is, I think,
Yeah.
very
Well,
well
Oh,
done.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
buddy.
well.
Well,
My
the
friend
Raphael's the
Jacob.
best one, too.
Jacob is a massive Ninja Turtle fan, so I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll appreciate that one.
Yeah, the color stuff I do is mostly digital because with that, at the click of a button, if it doesn't work right, I can make the color go away and try something different.
Right.
So the computer has given me a chance to experiment with things that I'm not really comfortable with on paper. Because if you got watercolors or colored pencils or whatever, you put that on paper, it's there.
Yeah.
If it's no good, it's just no good, and that's all there is to it.
Oh, I like this.
Digitally, I can play around with things.
I didn't realize you had done that one.
Here's one
Yes, my silence.
The silence from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Love that.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome, Brad.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean,
Good stuff.
I love it.
Good stuff.
I do. I love absolutely. Which can you plug your where can they go to view?
Well,
your
right
Facebook
now,
art
most
right
of my
now?
stuff is on Facebook. Look me up under, of course, Brad Leslie on Facebook. I also have an art page called Beatles Doodles. That's the brand name that I'm working under right now.
Okay.
And on Instagram, Brad.Leslie3.
Okay.
And I'm about 200 days into posting a new drawing every day for a year right now.
Nice.
Yep.
So
Nice,
Yeah, that was the challenge you gave yourself this year in particular, was to
Yep.
draw something new every day.
I did it originally 2 years ago and succeeded. Did a new drawing every day for a year. Now sometimes it's a stage of a drawing, like he was showing you earlier. So
But you're drawing at
stage-
least
Something every day.
something every day.
Yes.
Whether it's a part of a drawing that's continual and then it ends up being
Exactly.
how often do you get into these intricate drawings where it's a huge massive project and it takes days or weeks?
Quite a few, actually. Especially the ones that involve more intricate lines, like the dragon you had shown, or even the scream. That took me a couple of days to do that one because I was only able to work maybe 40 minutes at a time. But to get the lines down and get the charcoal in where I wanted it, and then spray it down with a fixative, do another layer, and go over it again. So sometimes these things can take. They can
See,
take
and that's the
several
beauty
days.
of this stuff.
Wow.
I mean, it absolutely is the beauty of just the art in general. But it's like how detailed each individual artist can get with their own work. But a lot of people, when they just see the finished product, will gloss over that. I mean, you'll still appreciate it, but when you start to hear about all the intricacies that are involved and you see the artwork and then you explain it, that's what I think I've enjoyed most about when we get together and we talk about your artwork and you show us and then you kind of tell us, well, I was inspired to do it this way for this reason, or I was just dabbling in a new technique.
Right.
And so I've just appreciated, for someone who is just trying to get their name out there and just even do this as a hobby on the side. But hey, I like what you're doing, trying to live the dream.
Right.
You gotta get legitimate somehow. You gotta start
exactly.
somewhere.
It's the thing that if money were not an issue, it's what I would still be doing.
Right.
That's no matter what. I will even if I never make another dime off of drawing, which I sincerely hope that I make lots of money off of drawing.
Absolutely.
But if I never made any more money with it, I'm still going to do it until I'm old. Well, older. And my arthritic-ridden hands.
You'll
can
probably
no
have a
longer hold
website
pencil.
before we do. So
That's
Well,
true.
that's true.
That is
Yeah.
in the works.
Get your
I am
website
working on
going
that.
and
I will
Yeah.
say
sell this work.
his
Hopefully.
art is amazing. It absolutely is. But
Thank
he
you.
does have another talent that I feel like if we had more time and knew he was coming, the man can juggle too.
I
so
would-
Oh,
He can juggle.
wow, that's true.
He's
I would-
crazy good.
if
we
we
need to
could've-
get you back on next time
Yeah.
to feature that talent.
Yeah.
But can you juggle and draw at the same time? That's the real question.
You know what? Not yet.
what you do is you get like those splash balls and you put
But
paint in them.
interestingly-
and
Oh,
just-
yeah.
There you go.
Keith, I've had thoughts very much like that.
There you go.
Very much like that. I have actually thought of ways to incorporate juggling into my art. It would obviously be abstract,
Yes.
but I think it would be a great deal of fun because
Yeah.
juggling's a lot of fun. And it would be cool to tie the two together.
Our viewers like your work. I've already seen comments.
Oh.
Excellent work.
I was really
Thank you very
worried
much.
with
Thank you very much.
with you being on the show, we wouldn't get any comments, but luckily,
What are you saying about our guest? He's never coming back now.
Yeah.
well, because because he's the one that does most of the commenting.
Well, that's,
Well, okay.
but the thing is even
Yeah.
still from the butthole of America, you're still going to be commenting. I'm hoping.
Absolutely.
On
our live
episodes
I
from
will
here on
still be
out.
watching, and like I said, I'm going to be living in Trafalgar. It's about an hour and a half drive away, so I'm still going to be able to come down as often as I can because I've lived here for nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm that old. But I've lived here for nearly 50 years, and I'm not giving up my life here in Louisville completely.
Yeah.
So I will still be down for fun and games and
Awesome. And
anytime I
cigars.
can, and cigars. Anytime
Of
I
course.
can, I will come in for that. So,
Well, and we hope too next time that we have just a little bit better presentation set up. But with you leaving us so soon, which we completely understand, better opportunities ahead for you to be able to continue drawing and getting that to become a more lucrative part of your life. And that's what we're hoping for when you come back to us in the future. Is we have a better showcase to show our viewers, and also just have even more maybe our own website that
Maybe.
we can, lead
Yeah.
people to click on your artwork, and who knows,
And-
maybe even a partnership down the road. Who
Maybe by that
knows?
time I'll be that rich eccentric artist that shows up in the fur coat and
Well, if you do,
Yeah.
don't
But not
forget
real
about
fur,
us little
'cause that's
people down
cruel.
here, okay?
Yeah.
I will draw the little people.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you for plugging my art.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
We're
Anybody-
happy to have you every single week tune in and be part of our conversation and our comments. We appreciate all the support you've given us.
I enjoy it. I'm, the only thing I love as much as art is movies. So
And
it's
well, that,
always
before,
a pleasure to talk with you guys.
we know you
Always.
can't stay the whole show,
Right,
but before
right.
we let you go, we kind of wanted to get your 2 cents
Okay. All right.
on a film that Mr. Sean Sebastian Keith over here reviewed for us this past week.
Oh.
That review's coming up here, but have you seen yet Terminator Dark Fate?
I have not seen it yet. I'm on the fence with this one. I was burned so bad by Genesis.
Yes, a lot of people were.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
The previews look phenomenal. Special effects look like they're going to be dead on. And the preview.
Well, with
alone
Linda
was-
Hamilton back
Right.
and
Well,
Schwarzenegger himself.
The preview itself was better than the entirety of Genesis.
That is true.
So there
That
is
is
that
very
hope.
true.
I will see it. And of course, at this point, I'm a longtime Terminator fan. I saw the original in theaters with my dad and it came out when I was 13, I think. So yeah, I've been a fan of the franchise from the beginning. So if a film comes out or a TV series comes out that has Terminator slapped on it, I'm gonna see it.
Yes.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
I would say,
Absolutely.
I too am as well. I'm ready to kind of listen to this review from Mr. Keith.
We will get there.
We
You
will
wanna
get there.
you wanna go ahead and lead us into our review? You remember how it goes?
Well, no,
Yeah, have you watched enough, Brad?
Put him on the spot.
You know what? Actually, another great fan of ours I want to give another shout out to real quick.
Uh-oh.
Is a very special day for her. She tunes in quite frequently too, but happens to be down in Florida, the Sunshine State, soaking up the sun down there, enjoying some time away. And that is Miss Lisa Hudson. It is her 32nd birthday. So I want to give a very special shout out to Miss Lisa Hudson and just appreciate her viewing us and give her a happy birthday shout out.
Happy birthday, Lisa Hudson. I've never met you, but happy birthday.
See, I love it. Oh, man, let the guests come on and even they. Oh, it's so great. It's a loving atmosphere on the Red Moon podcast.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes.
But yes, with all that being said and all the special shout outs, I guess it is time. Brad, you will be leaving us here on this
Forever.
episode.
No,
and
not
yes, forever. Oh, God.
We hope not.
Nothing is forever.
But you will be leaving us right before this review. We hope to see you back here on the show and, of course, every week in our comment section. Thank you so much.
Continually view, and thank you very much for having me on. Again, I love the movies. I love the show. I love talking to you guys.
Fantastic. Can't wait till you're back on the show again in the future. Thank
Let
you,
me know.
Brad.
We'll
Thank you,
make it
Brad.
happen.
So until then, we're going to go ahead and cut to our movie review. So here's our review of Terminator Dark Fate.
There is no fate but what we make for ourselves. These words echo throughout the Terminator franchise, forming the fundamental theme of human perseverance and survival that is the backbone of the series. While these words inspire perseverance in the face of destruction, they are also quite meta in the way they pertain to the film franchise as a whole. For a series that began in such spectacular fashion, the films themselves have been fighting to remain relevant as each new entry becomes worse than the last, with the series' previous outing, Terminator Genesis, nearly being the last nail in the coffin. Luckily, the franchise rights reverted back to James Cameron this year, and a collaboration between him and director Tim Miller, famous for Deadpool, launched the production of a new film meant to erase the previous mistakes in the franchise. Hoping to reinvigorate the series, does this latest film help the Terminator series avoid a dark fate? Terminator Dark Fate, the latest entry in the franchise, tries to wipe the slate clean by following directly from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Everything from Terminator 3 on didn't happen. A wise decision, seeing as everything after Judgment Day has been received less than warmly from fans. But does Dark Fate fare better? In modern-day Mexico, a new model of Terminator, the Rev 9, played by Gabriel Luna, is sent back in time to terminate Danny Ramos, portrayed by Natalie Reyes. Sent back by the human resistance to stop the Terminator is Grace, played by Mackenzie Davis. Grace, a member of the Resistance, is an augmented human, given cybernetic enhancements to fight Terminators toe-to-toe. A downside to these enhancements, however, is that without proper medications, Grace could die, leaving her capable of only combating the Terminator in short, ferocious bursts. The film also sees the return of a few familiar faces, with Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger both reprising their roles of Sarah Connor and another T-800, the same model of Terminator from the first two films. Though the film follows the same formulas as Terminator 1 and 2, there is a major twist involving Danny and the future Sarah thinks she knows. The film had a lot to prove, and with James Cameron lending a hand, fans had hoped for a return to the legacy created by Cameron. And while this film hits all of the same beats as the first two, it feels too paint by numbers. Yes, Dark Fate suffers from the Star Wars effect. Much as Force Awakens feels like a rehash of A New Hope, so too does Dark Fate seem a little too familiar in plot structure. What Dark Fate does attempt to offer to set itself apart is a subversion of expectations that is supposed to be unique and shocking, promising to take the franchise into new territory. Alas, however, even these subversions are just a coat of new paint, with a few shocks that are more for the sake of subverting expectations than they are actually great developments to an already stagnated narrative. Terminator Dark Fate is pretty, and it's fun to see a return of Sarah being a badass and taking out machines, but something is lost along the way. This film has amazing action scenes and honors the past in ways the previous sequels did not, yet it also does its predecessors a huge disservice in the way the previous sequels did not. Much of subverting expectations revolves around a plot twist concerning John Connor. This twist, while definitely unexpected, changes everything fans know about the franchise. This isn't in and of itself a bad thing, but what the movie offers in exchange isn't anything bigger or better than what we already knew. All in all, Dark Fate is a better film than the last few, but only just. It still suffers from bad dialogue, so do all of Cameron's films. And its plot, while interesting, just isn't fleshed out enough, nor enough to justify the major shakeups in the series. The Rev 9 and Grace are amazing new additions to the series, with brilliant performances from Luna and Mackenzie, but if this is the direction the series is being taken, it requires a much stronger script. I give Terminator Dark Fate 2.5 out of 4 stars. Well, there you have it. 2.5 stars for Terminator Dark Fate. It's, and I don't say that as okay. Well,
I just like how he goes. It's
people hear because people hear 2.5 and they automatically think, oh no,
That
and it
sucks.
and it's not
That's
by
not
any
always a
means
bad
a
thing.
terrible movie, but it's also not. It is by far nowhere near the snuff of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And even still, I would have been okay with
and
that
here's
if
the
it had just been a
problem,
little
though.
bit
That's
better.
what it's been touted as.
I know.
And that's what's making me, with James Cameron coming back. that's
Well,
what
it definitely
all
has
of
the
this-
bad James Cameron dialogue. It does
Yes.
have
Well,
that.
I remember that. I heard that in your review, and
Uh,
I'm actually like, it's like some things never change.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Because, I mean, as amazing as 1 and 2 were, even they had some clunkers in their dialogue. So that's kind of, I guess, just something Avatar 2 is probably going to have terrible dialogue. You just can't avoid it with James Cameron.
Absolutely.
But even besides that, I felt, like I said, the action was there, the characters were there, but they were so kind of like with so many other like reboots or new movies like Jurassic World and the new Star Wars, where they're so busy trying to subvert expectations and shock you because you think you know what Terminator's about, but now we're going to upend it, and it's like.
Yeah.
They do it in a way that's okay. Like it didn't hurt me as much as like Last Jedi did, but even still, it wasn't really necessary. And they didn't do anything that I thought was good enough to warrant it. It's like, if you're going to do that, then give me something that blows my mind.
Yeah.
And that is like a new direction for the series to go in that would be amazing. As it is, it was kind of just
The
like
same direction,
yeah,
just
it's
rebranded.
Basically, I don't want to spoil too much, but basically, it's trying to honor Terminator 2 and the fact that when Terminator 2 ends, they say, that because of what they did, that they believe they stopped Judgment Day and Skynet. So this comes out, and it wants to try to still go along with that there. So, like, you did stop Skynet. The big twist is that they did, that by changing the future, they prevented Skynet from happening. But people being people, we still...
Did the same
many years
thing.
later,
God.
we still develop. We
Yeah.
still
So
developed
basically
a new.
it's the
So it's no
same
longer
stupid
Skynet.
plot.
It's no longer Skynet.
No.
Now it's Legion.
Legion, yeah,
which
they
is a
changed the
terrible
name.
name. Skynet sounded like
we are Legion.
yeah. Because it's like an anti-terrorist program that they developed, and then it went haywire and did the same thing Skynet did.
Created robot
But
terrorists.
Skynet's such a better name. Like that
It
sounds
is.
like something that could have happened in the future.
Well, but leave it to James Cameron to take a step back.
I'm saying
in the writing
Legion.
department.
I heard Legion. I heard Legion, and I told Sean when he got out of the theater. As soon as I heard Legion, I'm thinking it's unobtainium.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
I mean, this is just a generic, terrible name. So now you have this new AI called Legion that is sending back Terminators, and even though it's a different AI, these Terminators are still called Terminators, and their like exoskeleton still looks like the Terminators.
You
and
would
I'm
think
like,
they would have come up with like a better
Yeah.
process.
I'm like, wouldn't
if they were doing
if this is a new, more
Skynet
advanced
failed,
AI, yeah.
then you would think that yes, they would have come up with a better
Well,
process.
Skynet never
No.
existed, is what they're saying, because they stopped the
Oh,
future.
okay.
But I'm like, okay, I believe it that we're humans, we're dumb. We still made an AI that wiped us out. But that AI still should have been different enough that things would have been different in some way. They called the machines, like the helicopters, hunter killers. They
use
still,
all the same terminology.
still called it
and they even
Judgment
look the
Day.
same.
Yeah.
They still the same exoskeleton from the original Terminator.
See, and that's
So-
but that alone right there just assumes that it's like if Skynet failed, but now all of a sudden that terminology is still baked into the culture.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're gonna, but it's
They
like,
wanted
but
to
that's the
still-
whole point of it not
Yeah.
proceeding. So how do they? Come
They
up
wanted
with
to
the
still
same,
bank off of what
Yeah.
everybody knew in the original Terminators. They still wanted, in the trailers, people to see the machines and
Talk
for
about
them to hear Terminator.
unoriginality.
But it's like, okay, you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Like you wanted to
Yes.
change things, but you didn't want to change it enough where it was unfamiliar and scare new viewers away. So what you ended up with was this blob of something that doesn't work for anyone.
Right.
And it's like they even, like I said, Grace even still calls it Judgment Day. It's like, why would it still be called Judgment Day if Judgment
if it
Day
never happened.
happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the original Judgment Day didn't happen. This new apocalypse with Legion happened instead. Why is it called Judgment? Like it would be something else because people wouldn't know
And
what
it's
Judgment
still,
Day was.
It's still even the same Judgment Day. It's still a nuclear
Yeah.
Explosion.
a nuclear fallout.
Legion
yeah.
still like sets off all these.
Launches all the nukes.
It's
and
like a different future happened, but it's actually the same
the
future.
same future.
And there's another twist involving John Connor and this new girl that I don't want to
That's the
spoil
one
that.
I'm curious about, but I don't want to. Yeah, don't tell me.
That's a big one that I can't spoil, but even I felt like just like I said, what they gave us didn't warrant this huge twist. It's like it would have been okay, but as it is, it's still the same plot. Just with the same with Skynet and Legion, it's a similar type of twist where it's like, oh, it's still the same thing but different.
I
And
think
it's-
Keith has given it a little more credit than I gave it because I only rated it 2 stars,
Yeah. Okay.
and I had a hard time doing that because after I got out of the film, like it was like Keith said, the action's there, the CGI's there, the original cast is there, like, and they're good for what they were given. They did a good, but the story to me. Because I told Keith earlier, compared to The Last Jedi, it basically erases
yes. It was like
everything.
A New Hope. Yeah.
It erases
Oh,
everything
yes.
that the first and second movie did.
Mhm.
Everything that Sarah Connor struggled through and everything that her and her son in the second movie struggled through. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator that comes to protect John, everything that they worked for is completely it's useless. There's no purpose to it.
Sean feels like it's pointless. To me, I don't feel like it's entirely pointless because Skynet still had to happen in some timeline for them to do that for Legion to be
Well, is
born.
that- okay,
Yeah,
but even
but-
still, it makes a mess of time travel.
But here's
in
the
a way.
thing.
Well, let me ask
if
you that real
the whole
quick. So is
purpose
that-
of the movie
Is that what does this try to say that that's kind of their premise though? Is that so Skynet didn't
they
happen,
stopped it from happening, but
but
it's
yet-
inevitable. It's
right.
going to happen. So
Yeah.
then in this movie, the whole point of the movie is for them to stop Legion from happening, but it's gonna happen again. It's inevitable,
all
right?
they're
That's the
really
story
doing
you
is just
told us, is that
continuously
it's the
pushing it
same
down.
thing.
Yeah, you're just telling us the same story over and over
You're
and over
just
again.
pushing it down the road more, and that still kind of defeats the purpose. Like Terminator 2 really ended in a way that if you wanted it to have the depth of there is no fate but what we make for ourselves, it really truly has to be the last one because
Yeah.
anything that comes after means that they failed and that there is fate, And it's like the whole point of Terminator is kind of the fate versus destiny line where either you're destined for one future or you make your own future. And it's like you can't really have that theme if there's more after 2. No matter how seriously, no matter
true,
how
that's
much you
true.
want it to be a huge franchise, that theme can't still exist with sequels. I mean, because it's always going to happen.
I had a lot of gripes with the story, and Keith and I have discussed it because he tries to fill in these plot holes for me with some things that were said in the movie. And I'm just like,
Just
that's
trying to
not
give some
enough.
credit.
That's like you're trying to take a piece of bubble gum and fill in a gap a mile wide.
Here's
It's
the
not
thing.
going to work.
I mean, I do agree. Like they do. He does it. Like his questions have been legitimate, and the movie does try to address many of them, but they're just these very like there's one
Yeah.
scene where like Arnold's like basically he's
I don't
sending
even wanna go
he
into
sends
Arnold.
the locations of Terminators to Sarah throughout the year so she can hunt them down and destroy them.
Right.
So it's like, well, if Skynet doesn't exist, how does he know these Terminators are coming
Yeah.
back in time? Because basically what it tries to say is before they stop Skynet from existing, it sent multiple Terminators to multiple timelines.
All
at
hearing,
once.
All I'm hearing throughout all of this is that this is another Jack could have been saved. By
Yes.
floating on.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's
Yeah.
basically it is. It's
Yeah.
one of the things where they give the very thinnest of explanations that doesn't really explain anything.
It's
and
enough
you're
to
just,
progress through the movie and have it.
like
it
literally,
rolling.
Yeah,
he
keep it
gives
rolling,
he
that's
gives
it.
some techno jargon for why he can do this, and the person says, "Well, that explains why," but it doesn't. Say, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, it really doesn't explain why, other than you're saying this
Well,
explains.
then
it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator in this movie is like a Terminator that grows somewhat of a conscience or some kind of a.
He has no mission
emotional-
left.
okay,
you know, his
that was the
mission's
other thing.
complete, so there's nothing left for him to do. So he marries a woman, and
See, from the
It's-
trailers,
It's explained better in the movie, but it's still not.
it's still really stupid because in the first movie, Kyle Reese is in the car with Sarah Connor, and he says, "These things don't feel fear. They don't have any emotions. They don't love. They don't feel pain. They're going to come after you until you're dead."
Until number 2, though, when he does experience the feeling, because even at the
But
very
that's
end, when he's about
after-
to die.
Yeah, but he says, "I know why. I know now why you cry, but
yeah.
it's something I can never do."
Yes.
because he can't feel that.
And they have a kind of another line similar in this where they're talking about him and his wife, and like someone asks him like, "Do you love her?" And he says, "Not in the
Not
way
the way
a human
you
can."
do, yeah.
And it was a brilliant line. It's like
Yeah.
the only good
It was-
line in
yeah,
the whole movie.
We both looked at each other. and was like, "That was well.
Yeah.
that was well done."
And I'm like, that was good, except for the fact I get they were trying to pick up from 2, where it's like that Terminator
Yeah.
started to learn from John. So it's like, well, if this Terminator didn't have a mission anymore because Skynet's gone, and it was just stuck in this time with nothing to do,
Yep.
could it develop a conscience? It's like maybe, but they don't. It's like it's an intriguing idea, but they don't give it enough depth
Yeah.
for it to go anywhere. And
Well,
that's how
even
the
the-
whole. I felt like that was the whole movie. A lot of the ideas were unique and could have been interesting, but they don't add enough
don't
depth
ever- yeah.
to any of them to
Yeah.
make them worthwhile.
The end of T2, you know, Schwarzenegger has to sacrifice himself because
Yes.
there's a chip in his head, and they've got to get rid of that, or Skynet could still come to fruition. So he sacrifices himself. The same thing goes on in this movie. Like it's like I'm not going to give all the details away, but it is like they replayed the same movie.
It's
So many different. They replaced John Connor with a girl. They replaced Linda Hamilton with another Terminator.
Yeah.
Or they replaced
With
Schwarzenegger's
Grace.
protective Terminator with Grace.
Yeah.
The new female Terminator.
Linda Hamilton's still
They don't
Linda
explain
Hamilton.
at all how this human is augmented, or why
Other than they did in the
or
future.
why they don't just make 1,000 of her and beat up all the Terminators. You know, they make one.
Well,
that
they
can
did
go
give
toe
the
to toe with the
caveat that
Terminator.
she can't fight the Terminators more than so many. Like with
Yes,
the
that's
augmentation,
another
they
weird-
can only fight. Like they're meant. Their whole point is, she says, you
Guys,
either have
I'm
to take a
lost.
Terminator down
It's-
fast.
I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Her metabolism, because she's been like altered and enhanced. She's an enhanced human, so her metabolism, like literally, like is
I don't know. I
used
feel
up.
like Sean's making it sound worse than I feel like it is.
No.
but
I
he's
mean, it
making,
is.
Yeah.
But her metabolism is depleted, so
Yeah.
she's used up and crashes.
Yeah.
So she's constantly got to be recharged with
Yes,
some
by iPad.
concoction that Sarah Connor just magically knows how to make. And you know, they give her a shot, and she perks back up, and she
Yeah.
can fight the Terminator again. But again, in the future, they could make 1,000 of her and win in one day. I mean,
Yeah.
she says at the beginning, like, we have enough energy to fight the Terminator for just the first few minutes that we get here.
She said you
Because
have to
that's
put
all
him
it's
down
supposed to
quick,
take.
or
If you
you
put
don't
him down
put him
quick,
down
or
at
you
all.
don't put him down at all. Yet they put him down, which is against what she said in the beginning.
Yeah.
But again, if they would have just made her in the future, and a couple hundred or 1,000 of her, then they would put them all down real quick and win, and there's no Terminators anymore. It's like
I
just
felt like they offered up enough that I understand why they didn't make a bunch of her, but I felt like it was just paper thin. Like again, like I
Yeah.
said, like I felt like there was intriguing ideas, but all of it felt paper thin. Like I could buy it if they had just taken the time to flesh it out more. And it's like they didn't. So then you do have these questions like Sean has, where it's like, it doesn't help at all because you didn't bother to actually.
Yeah, they didn't
put the
flesh
depth
anything
into it.
out enough for me to get what was going on. They gave me
Yeah.
the most minimal argument
And
as to
I
why this
agree.
could be.
Like I'm not
and
trying
I'm
to
like,
defend
I
it in the way that I
Yeah.
felt like. Yes, I think that was poor writing, in that I feel like they did not give it the development it needed
I feel
for
like
these
as,
things to be.
as bad of a rap as Terminator Salvation got. I feel like it was a better movie than this one. Now Genesis is.
Awful.
That should have never happened.
Genesis
Somebody
is
needs
the
to go
worst
back in
film ever
time
made.
and kill whoever made Genesis.
It's
so that
almost
they
like
can't do it.
we need a Deadpool.
But one of,
instance. That's
one
what
of,
we really
one of
need.
my
Yes.
biggest problems with this movie, though, is just like Sean was saying. I'm about to call you John. John Connor.
John Connor?
Yeah.
I'm Sean Connor.
Sean
Sean
Connery.
That's what I was
Um,
named after, so there you go.
But
Where do we set up
just like
camp?
Sean said with like
There.
Over there in the bushes.
So just like Sean was saying with like him sacrifices himself, the whole movie was 1 and 2 like kind of replayed, just like Force Awakens and The New Hope. Like there's literally the movie mostly takes place in Mexico, but it does eventually cross over into America, and of course they have to sneak into America, so they do so with a caravan of illegal immigrants.
Yes.
And they get
So
caught,
the
and they
political
get
border
and they
patrol
get
stuff is
they
there.
get detained. But it's not too political. I'm gonna say I
There's
was okay
people in
with
cages.
It. Yeah, but I didn't
full
feel
of the people in
well.
cages.
It looked like an actual
I know,
detention
I know.
center, so I didn't think that there was only one line. I mean, they left it for what it was for the most part, but they did get one political jab in with the line where Grace comes in, being from the future, not knowing what the detention center is because those don't exist anymore when you're fighting against machines.
Yeah.
She comes in. And she goes, "Where did you take the prisoners?" Because she's trying to rescue them. And the woman
Yeah.
goes, "They're not prisoners; they're detainees." And I was like, "Oh, of course."
There we go.
And-
of
but they
course.
did throw that line in there. But as soon as they get caught and they're taken to the detention center, I told Sean, "It's like this is just going to be the prison scene from the first 2 movies,
Yeah.
only in a detention center."
And it was,
Yeah.
wasn't
And
it?
I'm like, it
Well,
was
the first
like
one's
they
a
kept.
prison, the second one's a mental
Yes,
hospital.
the first
but
one's
yeah.
a prison, then a mental hospital, and so this one had the detention center.
Detention center.
And I'm like, and they did that throughout the whole movie. It kind of followed the same narrative beats
Yep.
without offering anything. Like the second one has some of the same.
They even have a helicopter chase scene,
yeah,
just like in T2.
yeah.
Oh my
The Rev
God.
9
So-
gets in the helicopter, and I'm just like,
Let-
so
well, let
much
me
of
at
this.
least ask you that: is the part of this movie that is at least entertaining the action?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
is there? I mean, because
Oh,
that's
no.
that's the
The
thing.
Rev 9's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Gabriel Luna.
It's-
I've watched Agents of Shield, and he plays Ghost Rider in that, and he's amazing as Ghost Rider. So I already knew he could act, and he does a great job of being just as intimidating as to the T-1000 in
Well,
2.
I mean, I'll
so-
just say, like, the first thing that attracted me to this film in the first place was that it seemed like with James Cameron getting back involved, the whole point of it was that he was bringing it back to the base, which was not a thin story,
Yeah.
but a detailed enough story that gave you some depth and some meat to care about the characters.
No.
Nope.
But then return with some awesome kick butt action.
Yeah.
It
And
had
it's like
awesome
it's there.
hitbox action, and it had a plot that was basically the first 2. And I think that was like why some people have been excited, like it's a return to the original. It's like, yeah, because
It's an
they
exact
copied.
copy.
It's like they copied the plot, but then they changed it by making it. Oh no, it's not Skynet, it's Legion. So
Yeah.
it's like that doesn't make it a better plot. That just makes it you were lazy and couldn't think of anything. So it's like, well, what if we
do
do
they have
this?
like a nuclear scene in this where she's like narrating
no,
it?
but no, they did. No, they
No,
show.
yeah, that's how it starts.
It
The movie
starts
starts that
with
way.
the video clip of her being recorded in the mental hospital, the same way the second one starts.
Yeah.
It starts with that video of her
Oh my god.
and
Yeah.
her describing like the nuclear scene and everything, but it still ends with them looking at a playground. So I'm like, okay, we know what's going on here.
Well, I must say, even though 2.5 I know is our official review, I'm not probably going to check out this movie.
You should watch it once.
I probably won't because it's James Cameron. And I'll just be honest with you. I really don't
Well.
think it's worth my time.
I had
Uh,
high
well,
hopes,
that might be
high hopes
true.
for
So,
it,
I
but
mean-
like Brad said, I had high hopes going into it because again, the trailers make it look much more amazing. That even the music in the trailer
Oh yeah.
is so eerie, and
yeah.
and it made me think, okay, I can kind of see the direction he's going to go with this,
I
and
never-
kind of bring back the awe of Terminator. But it was too much of the same and not enough explanation.
I
And-
never
and
felt
that's-
the weight of like or the gravity of what was going on in this movie like I did the first. When I watched the first 2 Terminators, like
It's
the Terminator's
terrifying,
terrifying
yeah.
me. And it's like, yeah, you're really afraid that they're going to catch up and murder Sarah and John.
Yes.
And you really fear the fact that the future could unleash these machines.
Well, one thing that I was doing our Tinseltown trivia from last week that we recorded last week and we had on Great Day Live this past week about Terminator. And the one scene I pulled up to pull from was the last scene where they're in the first Terminator, where John Connor and Sarah, they're running from the Terminator. And as bad as the CGI is, it's awful. It's very dated.
Yeah.
But it's still, it caters to the subtleties
Yeah.
of just simple, that chase and barely getting away.
Yeah.
And it's the littlest cat and mouse type of game that he uses to instill that fear in you as you're watching the movie.
No, he did it in Aliens too.
And that's the thing is
Like,
I'm
Aliens had
seeing
that
these
presence.
subtleties and I'm like, all that is atmosphere and a simple little nuance like, okay, cat and mouse, they barely make it.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. You know, we're gonna give you to the very last minute and you're gonna think, oh yeah, they do make it.
But can I
You know,
add on
but
top of
that
that?
is so that is I feel like what is missed in these latest installments.
Well,
and
on top of that,
especially
when
in
they
this
do
one.
get away, I just want to say, when they finally manage to get away from the Terminator, you believe the fact that they just barely made it out by the skin of their teeth, but they did it. In this, I felt like
It's stylized.
no.
action.
In this, I was just like, I don't understand how they survive. In the first two, it's like they got like if you feel like they get lucky, but you believe that they were able to pull off getting away.
Yeah.
In this, I was like, I don't really understand how the Rev 9 didn't kill them on so many occasions, because it's like it was almost like it was just plot armor. It's like they didn't die because
They
couldn't because
It's
they were
too
the main
early.
characters. And I was like,
I like that. Is that a coined phrase?
Yeah, plot armor.
I like
no,
that.
that is an actual phrase people use online.
That's good. Yeah.
And it specifically refers to people that can't die because the plot demands that they can't. And that's terrible.
Every James Cameron
And it's like
movie.
anytime you feel like someone can't die because the narrative says they can't, it's
Yeah.
bad writing.
Yeah.
It's like you should always like, the main character's probably not going to die, but there's still a kind of a level of believability where you feel like, okay, this makes sense on how they got out alive.
That also happens in the opposite effect, like, you know, when you expect someone to die for the plot purposes, like Jack in Titanic. I mean, it's like we're gonna get that tearjerker.
The
Al,
plot
we gotta
armor
kill him.
The plot armor weighed him down. He sank. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm watching this. There's a few occasions where I'm like, okay, I don't believe that they could have gotten away like that. Like
Almost
told him-
every instance.
I told
where
him
they
there's a
encounter
scene
the
where they end
Terminator,
up at a dam and they end up
Yeah.
like fighting and they end up underwater, where I'm like, some of these people are supposed to be human, not
Right.
machine. And I'm like, how did they survive some of this stuff? Like, I believe Arnold or Grace or the Rev 9 surviving because they're all machine or augmented. But how did Sarah and Danny survive some of these feats? They're like, especially Sarah, who's a much older woman now.
70-something years old.
It's like, you're stretching how far I believe somebody can like take a beating and keep going. So
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but based on what you all have told me and other impressions I've heard around the web, and its abysmal performance in the box office, just tell me
$120 million loss.
$120 million.
well, originally
so
I
far.
attributed that to the fact that
Gosh.
Genesis was so bad, people lost interest. But I think word of mouth on this is not going to help its box
Well,
office.
I think it's not just Genesis. I think it's a lot of different iterations
Well,
of
yes.
this franchise. I mean, we're talking about from Salvation. I mean, even going back to Terminator 3 was lukewarm
Yes.
received. Then you have Salvation. Then you have Genesis. It's like this franchise really, ever since number 2, has just gone cold.
I could have
and
seen
it really needs to stay
Needs to be
terminated.
I could have seen this movie coming out opening day and doing poorly, and then if it had good word of mouth, raising up. But now I think it's just
well,
going to
and
keep
that's
going
the
down.
sad thing is it
Yeah.
opened at number 1, but
Yeah.
only 29 million.
Yeah,
That's you're not coming back
that
from
ain't
that.
nothing.
And I'm sorry, but if
Because you dropped by like almost half by the time of your second week. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's like.
that, I mean, and already just with
Yeah.
that kind of performance, there's no way it's coming back. I'm not going to go and add to that box office total. I'm definitely not.
And I mean, I do like the actors because I've
Even
seen
Arnold
them in
doesn't say he'll be back in this one.
He honestly may have been some of the best acting in the movie, and Arnold's not a great actor. So
Well, we all know that.
Oh boy.
All right, guys, I think we're ready to move on to some headlines.
yes, let's please do.
Because, it's weird we're talking about the Terminator and all of this, people dying and then coming back.
CG
and
well,
CGI.
It's
and all
funny
this
because
stuff.
one of the opening scenes in this movie is Linda Hamilton young, and they do
Yeah.
the de-aging thing, and it looks good. Like it really,
does.
And
like
we got
she
the Irishman coming out.
she looks like Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2, and it's a scene of her when
from that time
period,
Yeah.
and it was
So it's
done
supposed
well.
to- yeah.
And in that regard, it's like, yeah, that's okay. But this headline coming up, what they're about to do, I
It's a
have.
little we've talked about this
Yeah.
before.
We called it.
But the fact is here it is now. James Dean is being
Resurrected?
reimaged, and yes, technically resurrected to play in an actor and a character
in a New World War II movie.
No, Vietnam.
Oh,
It's a
Vietnam.
Vietnam War era. War
Yeah, okay.
action
Vietnam.
drama. So the fact is we're now bringing people back from the dead in terms of CGI characters. Now they are using old character models.
Yes.
Plus, I forget the actor's name that they're partnering with to create I'm sorry. They're using an older.
I think they
movie
mentioned
that he
Rebel
was
Without
in.
a Cause as
Yes,
one of them
it
that
was
they're
that,
using.
yeah.
They're using shots and stuff from that movie. Here's my problem with that, and I mentioned this to Sean.
Well, no, real quick,
Yeah.
just a disclaimer. The family of James
Oh,
Dean is on board.
they approved it.
They
yes.
approved this.
They absolutely did, and
But,
I say
but what I don't understand is the director himself is quoted by saying, "We just looked at all possibilities and we thought James Dean
yeah.
is the one we land." I'm like,
No.
what? How did
No,
you even
no.
come to arrive at that?
One, it's a stunt thing because here's my problem, and this is what I told Sean. If this movie ends up being like this amazing Oscar-worthy movie, and that performance is this Oscar-worthy performance, it's like, who do you give the Oscar to? You can't give it to James Dean or his estate because it was completely
It's
fabricated.
his likeness. Not him.
Whoever does the motion capture and the voice work truly deserves the Oscar. But if
the
that's the
other thing.
case, why not let
what
that
if
person?
they don't do that? What if the voice work is done AI? What if they
Oh,
have
yeah.
enough of his voice and his sound and audible that AI is
Well, I
what
thought they said
now
they were gonna
manipulate.
No, they have a voice.
They mentioned they
actor.
said
But
the
I'm just
actor is
saying,
going
like,
to use
to
his
me,
voice.
but that's what's coming in the future.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you bring up the conversation about, who do you give it to if somebody wins this award? In my mind, what I'm sitting
Well,
here
then I would think
thinking-
it would go to James Dean's estate, but it's like he didn't really act in
But
anything.
exactly,
though.
Yeah.
how do you give it? I mean, I guess now we're gonna give Oscars to the likenesses of people.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then can Alfred Hitchcock come back and direct
I mean,
a movie
honestly,
and get an Oscar?
that means in the future Skynet's going to win a lot of Academy Awards.
Yeah.
well, no, it'll be Legion.
But my other problem with that
Legion, yeah.
is you did, like you said, you didn't pick James Dean because you thought, oh, he's the only actor that could be in that role. You picked
No.
him because you
He's
know
not
that
that great of an actor when he was alive.
That name,
exactly.
Yeah,
the
it's like-
name, the look,
it's
the
like
presence.
he
it's
was
a
a- he
stunt
was a
thing.
heartthrob.
People are going to be
And
like,
it's-
look, there's a James Dean. James Dean's in this new movie, but it's not James Dean.
Nope.
He was made on a computer using previous images of him, and then you used vocal
Well,
work
maybe that
I don't know.
computer-generated James Dean identifies as a human.
And it might.
well,
You
with
can't-
Skynet having feelings, it definitely can choose on its own.
I just
okay?
feel like
Yeah.
it's
I don't know.
non-binary.
it feels like a huge stunt to me.
You'd be like zeros and ones.
Exactly.
Binary.
That was a nerd
Non-binary
joke.
code.
No, that was a jerk.
It was a good one, though.
That was-
I liked it.
That was a nerd joke.
Nerds.
But no, I do agree.
It just feels like stunt casting to me.
I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
And not even stunt because
And
usually
the whole movie's a stunt.
Yeah.
It's like let's see what we can do with
See,
this
and
CGI. with
that's
this
where it lost
deep fakes.
credibility with me.
Mhm.
Is I'm sitting here thinking, yes, if your movie can't stand alone on its own, with the
What's-
actual
yeah.
script and the plot,
Is it even a good movie?
Well, it's like you have to go to the extent of getting a dead person to bring them back to. I mean, here's the thing: this isn't even about science. This isn't even about the scary part. A lot of times, technology starts out with let's just see if
a lot of times
the whole
it's-
Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
incident.
you were too busy
Yeah.
worried about whether or not you could that you never stopped to think whether or not you should. Jeff Goldblum can solve the world's problems.
That's
Well,
right.
we know that. And we know that when he's dead, we will bring him back. But we have to for that reason, because he solves the world's problems.
That's right.
But I still think this is a gimmick. I agree
absolutely.
with you. It's a gimmick. But to me, apart from it being a gimmick, is this a little scary? Because here's
Yep.
the thing. This is somebody who has been dead for over 50
Mhm.
years. Even though his family is on board, and they've given the okay.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they'll get whatever money they get from the movie.
Oh, but true. But even still, the question is with the family being on board, and that being the only argument that some people could say is, well, if they think it would be in his wishes, the scary thing is again, is this what we're up against in the future with not only people passing, but whether or not, it's like even with The Irishman and the de-aging.
Mhm.
The fact is the actors are still on set.
Yep.
Yeah.
You still have them there performing this
Yeah.
scene. It's only in the CGI that it enhances the story that is being
That's
told.
no different than
Yeah.
the actor having makeup on. It's
Yeah,
just
you're
digital makeup
You're
now.
just using digital makeup
Yeah,
to make
right.
look younger. Yeah.
Whereas this is completely. I mean, we talk about Carrie Fisher
Oh,
at the end
in
of
the car
of
on the way
Rogue
here.
One.
He said it's a manufactured performance.
Yeah.
and that is an awesome
That
way to put it.
I forgot that's how I worded it, but yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's a manufactured performance. It's not a real performance.
Nope.
Somebody has to digitally, and in that case, it's like, well, then should it be nominated for best animation? Because
but why can't we have everybody manufactured performances?
What's scary is the company that's like
let's cut actors out altogether.
in
Why pay?
charge of his likeness right now or whatever. They're along with Dean's family. It says in the article that they're also basically over Burt Reynolds, Christopher Reeve, Ingrid Bergman, Neil Armstrong, Betty Davis, and Jack Lemmon. So like names like that, we could see them pop back up.
And
on the
isn't
silver
that
screen.
is that not?
I think that's
creepy?
kind
Yeah.
of disrespectful, honestly.
Oh yeah,
because it's
I mean,
like
definitely.
It's like, here's the thing: you left a legacy behind of work that is supposed to be cherished and supposed to be honored from your life here that you lived. But now it's like you truly don't ever die.
Yeah.
But while some may think that that's, and here's the thing: if that's something in the future that people want to, I don't know, if you as a living person want to, I guess, make that statement of, okay, that's what you offer up and say, okay, yeah, this is what I want for my life. That's one thing if you have that choice. But these people, it's like they never could have thought in a million years. I mean, you can't tell me Lucille Ball would have thought to say, when they digitally recreate me, put me back on I Love Lucy. It's like, at what point do we stop and say, where's the madness begin, or where's the madness end?
And you can't recreate that. People think they can. And
Yeah,
I think
no.
Terminator Dark Fate proves that no matter how much we love, like we have these nostalgic feelings, there are sometimes just things fall into place with the perfect group of people to make something magical, like I Love Lucy, or like Terminator, or like Superman with Christopher Reeve. And it's like, those things can't be replicated in the same exact way. And no matter how much you want to recreate Christopher Reeve on screen or James Dean on screen,
well, my only
it's
question
like they
is
can't give.
why. What they've created is there. Let that stand on its own. I mean, if we're so worried, I mean, why are we not out there looking for the next
There
talent?
is no
Why are we not
legacy
looking
if we're
for the
going to
next
keep these
Christopher
people
Reeve?
going. Like if we're going to digitally recreate
Right.
every famous actor, then there is no legacy that they left behind because they're still going.
Well, their performance is iconic because only Christopher Reeves could
Oh,
give
no, I
that.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so only he could give that iconic performance. You manufacturing it with CGI, I guarantee you, it's like, okay, maybe you can come
You're
close.
banking off the dead.
Yeah.
Is all you're doing.
It's like, then maybe you can come close, but it's not going to be the same. And what if I just decide I'm going to make what if I made Suicide Squad and put James Dean, Christopher Reeves, all these dead people in? It's still going to be a terrible movie, but hey, all them famous people were in there.
Yeah,
It's
and Jared
like,
Leto.
all that does is,
Leave him in it.
yeah.
when Jack Nicholson dies, we're just going to put him as the Joker and
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
But it is I agree. I think I think this is scary territory. We brought it up on the show before because the very first time it was actually really it became a notable instance was when Carrie Fisher
Rogue
died.
One.
And right after Rogue One, and you saw her.
Well, that
de-age.
happened before she.
Right, but I'm saying after
Tarkin
that,
was the big one, is because they used.
He was dead
Right.
at the time.
They reused his likeness after he had already passed, and even that was like, it was creepy, but at the same time, it's like, okay, the estate said it was fine, and it's this series where they were keeping continuity. I kind of could get around that idea.
Well, and it's just one scene.
Yeah.
It's not a whole film.
Yeah.
It's just like, let's bring him back for this one thing to fill in this tiny little
well,
gap.
I was gonna say that one
It's
felt
not
more of
even-
like an honor to him.
Yeah, it was
and
more
his
of like an
character.
homage
Yeah.
to the fact that
and
character
it made
was around.
sense based on the story. Now, where even Star Wars or Disney and the whole estate came out after Carrie Fisher died, because then the question was, well, what do you do with the remaining movies that are left? Does she make an appearance? And they were like, yes, with previous footage that was already shot. And they asked specifically, well, does that also include options of completely, making her computer generated? And they specifically said no.
Yeah.
They were not going to recreate her
Well, they
computer
felt
generated.
it was kind of a disservice to her memory to do that, and I think a rightful reason. It's like, she just passed. It's kind of. I can't think of the right word. it's kind of like a slap in the face. It's like,
Disrespectful,
disrespect. It's like, you just died, but our movie's more important, so we're going to CGI you into it.
Right.
And that's kind of how
Right.
this feels. It's like James Dean's dead, but we want to get noticed, so we're going to CGI and put him in
Well,
there.
let me ask you
I
this
think
too.
it's lazy too. I mean, you think about these people; they're making a film, and someone passes. I mean, like, heaven forbid that happens, but especially when they're in the middle of filming. But part of the part of the creative process is like, yeah, if this happens, then we got to work around it.
Yes.
We got to rewrite. We got to reshoot. We got to do this. It's not let's just go get on the computer and let's digitally recreate
Heck,
this person and throw them in there.
If that's the case, when the stuff that happened with like Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey, it's like, well, fine, fire Kevin Spacey and just put a CGI Kevin Spacey in what's the name of the Netflix show?
House of Cards.
House of Cards, yeah. It's like then we could finish House of Cards and not have to support Kevin Spacey.
Well, no, but it's still his likeness at that point. And
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah, he'd
is-
still get
is then you
paid.
demonize the likeness altogether,
Yeah.
and so you can't even CGI his character at that point. He's done.
I love this article.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It says at the very end, it says, our partners in South Africa are very excited about this because they're going to use this technology down the road to recreate Nelson Mandela
Oh my
to tell
gosh.
stories of cultural heritage. So
I could see something like that in a museum.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I could see something like that in a museum might be kind of cool.
Yeah,
But
like Captain America in the museum.
Yes,
and all,
yeah.
like,
And
I love
seen,
that.
I've
in
seen
Avengers.
like they've had these incredible displays of like concerts where they have complete computer generated.
They did that with Tupac. Yeah.
And so it's like when you see something like that and it seems so real, it is kind of paying homage. But there's a difference between paying respect to somebody's, the creation and their art and using the art they've already created versus creating an entirely new, piece of work using their likeness. But yet they weren't here to actually,
I agree with that.
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, like, if like a movie like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had taken like a deceased actor like James Dean and put him in their movie for like a brief snippet because he was alive in that time frame, and like, look, like it was just in passing, like because Leonardo DiCaprio's character is an actor, like they had just passed each other on set. I was like, that could have been a nice homage. Like that I can maybe understand. Making him like one of the lead characters, and I don't know, that just seems disturbing to me.
It is. I think it is disturbing, and I think that's when it asks that really that question that we have brought up before. Is it's like, why do we need real actors? It's like at the end of the day, if Brad Pitt doesn't have to get out of his trailer, all he's got to do is go into a sound booth and maybe even just say a few different sentences where it gets all the different types of syllables from his voice, and an AI computer can manipulate
Recreate,
it.
yeah.
And then all you're using is literally his likeness and his voice, and then boom. It's like you don't ever have to see a real Brad Pitt ever again on screen.
I don't know.
It's like, is that what we're getting to?
Without motion capture, I don't see how it could be believably done because so far I haven't seen CGI that can perfectly create a person's like facial expressions without motion capture.
Well, and I would agree, and that's why I don't think this James Dean thing is going to be pulled off
Yeah.
very well. But with them moving in that direction, the question is if they do pull it off, is that where we're headed? Are we headed to just a completely computer-generated universe?
Hey, Hollywood's pretty
They'll
greedy.
have to get
so
paid less. I know that.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you're going to end up paying,
You're
going to
pay the CG artist more money than the actor.
A CG artist $200,000 or $300,000 to do all of this. A year, that's a great salary. And Brad Pitt, it's like, yeah, well, you're not doing as much work.
Yeah.
And they'll have to sell
You're not
their
putting
likeness.
your body on the line anymore. You're not, you're not even getting up in the morning.
And hell,
I'm surprised more actors.
Well, I was going to say, what is that bode for newer
Yeah.
actors that become the next? I mean, we talked about how Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of the last of the age-old classic
Yeah.
actors in Hollywood. You really don't have someone like him. You have these stars that kind of come up on the scene, have a real big blip on their radar with a big, huge blockbuster hit, and then they kind of fade a little bit until they come back. Or you don't really have these huge.
There's not
Hollywood
really a new guard.
celebs,
Yeah.
within Hollywood.
Yeah. And it's really just strange to me because when the Netflix thing happened, celebrities everywhere came out against it. And I'm wondering, like, how many actors are going to be okay with this? Are they? Like, I haven't seen any actors saying
Well, it's kind of funny,
to
but
or against it.
in Terminator Dark Fate, there's a scene where, they're going to work. The Danny and her brother are going to work.
Oh,
they
yeah,
work
I
at
forgot.
They work at a car factory, which is funny. It's an American car, but it's being made in Mexico. But they're going to the car, and then the brother shows up, and there's a robot
In his
arm
station.
spray painting the car, and that's what he did. And he's like, well, wait a minute, where'd that come from? And they're like,
Yeah.
we installed it over the weekend. It's your replacement. You're fired.
Yeah.
And there's more to it than that, but that's basically what happens. And it's like the actors need to be feeling that way. They're being
Yes.
replaced with with machines.
Well,
or
and
CGI.
how would you feel if
Yeah.
it's like Leo comes on set and it's like, sorry, Leo, we got somebody better.
You.
It's like, it's like we got Charlton Heston. It's like,
oh yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, he's back.
He's
back from the
back.
dead.
He's back.
You know, and it's just like
He just brought the 10 Commandments with him too.
But it would be funny if like then you
Oh.
just have like this CG set where it's like they have like
I'll go see Charlton Heston
That's
because you
what
know
I'm saying.
that's my guy crush.
That's
Charlton
why I'm-
Heston and Chris Pratt. Like those are the two. If I was gonna be gay, it's gonna be one of them two.
Well, Ben-Hur. They'll bring
Yeah.
back Ben-Hur and remake it.
Man,
With
Tell
There'll be
me
a
ya.
sequel. Ben-Hur 2.
Charlton Heston was a real man.
Yeah, he was.
I'm just saying. If they bring him back, I'm going.
I wouldn't just be
God
I think it's still disrespect. I would actually be more pissed about them recreating Charlton Heston than I don't give a crap about James Dean. If it was Charlton Heston, I'd be real pissed.
Well, and that's why I think
No
that-
offense to James.
No,
Dean.
but I think
mean-
that's
You're not gonna offend him. He's dead.
not for long.
And, yeah.
It's like
The computer James Dean's gonna be real pissed about that.
I'm telling you, this is how Skynet happens.
Yeah,
it is.
it's gonna
right
get
now.
mad.
And it's like we're gonna have thousands of James Deans after us.
Oh gosh!
It'd be thousands
On motorcycles
of OJs.
with leather jackets, chasing us all down.
You say OJs?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
OJ for Terminator.
God.
Oh, talk about somebody who would probably want his legacy, recreated after he's dead, and where he doesn't murder somebody.
It's a little reference to our Tinseltown trivia if you haven't caught it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Every week on Great Day Live on ABC Channel 4 here in Louisville, Kentucky, or online greatdaylive.com.
Louisville.
Just check it out. All right, guys, are we ready to move on? I think to our unique weekly segment.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
about
think
that
we're
time.
ready.
We're
It's Vices.
let's get it.
That never gets old.
It doesn't. I
No,
don't know
it
why.
doesn't.
I just like that one.
Mm-mm.
It's that Miami Vice theme.
I enjoy all of them, honestly. I
like-
think we have the opens to each of our segments. I think are well done.
Well
Yep.
done.
Yeah,
I'd
well
agree.
done.
I agree.
Yeah.
They are good. Even a so many times segment, all of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
All of
our
them.
Vices segment this week, guys.
What is it?
Luxury. It's all about luxury
Is it
or cheap.
humanity?
Being cheap.
Being cheap?
When does your luxurious need overtake your ability to be cheap and
Frugal.
save money?
Frugal.
And yes, be frugal. That is our Vices segment for this week.
Well, I'm always for frugality. Mostly I run on the cheap, but there are a few instances where, you just have to have the luxurious things in life. You
Mhm.
know, a good bourbon, a nice cigar, and an iPhone and an iPad.
Well,
I was
I'll
gonna
be
say,
the
you're
first to say
indulging.
a $2 cigar can taste just as good as a $10
that's
cigar.
true. No, that is true.
So it's
Same with
it's-
wine. People spend
That's
hundreds of
right.
dollars on wine, but there's some
Yeah.
really
$2
good.
Chuck. You can
I've
find
heard
it.
Trader
There's some
Joe's
really
got
good-
some good wine. That's,
Yeah.
that's what I've been told.
There's some
but-
really good wine you can get on the cheap.
Oh,
so,
heck yeah.
So, but
Well,
what
and
about?
I mean, isn't that always the question? Is it's like regardless of what you spend, isn't it? The enjoyment you get.
Well,
out
really,
of it?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
personal preference. If you like a crappy wine but you love it, then go for it. I mean,
yeah.
if you like Transformers, it's like you're an idiot, but there you go, you enjoy it. Sorry, Aaron.
But it's not always personal. I mean,
No,
think
no.
about like the everyday things that we use. Like you go to the if you get online to buy a lightning cable for your iPhone to charge it, and you buy the the $3 one on Amazon, it is not the same
Oh, no.
as
No, it's
the
not.
Apple one.
Sometimes it's not.
Usually it doesn't even work with your Apple device because they've got their
They're-
stuff locked down tight. But I bought cables but a couple months ago that were like braided and on the outside.
And they go bad in like
oh
a
yeah, they go
couple
bad
weeks.
quicker than the crappy ones that Apple makes.
Yeah.
See,
And it's
and that's the thing.
so
I think
sometimes the saving
sometimes
money
it's like I'm saving money, but then after a while, it's
you buy 3 or 4 of them
because I
though.
realize that I'm not really
There,
saving
there
money
are certain
'cause
things
it's crap.
like when I buy bleach, the dollar bleach is just fine because dollar
Yes.
bleach is the same bleach as $5
It all
bleach.
cleans
It's
up
all
blood.
It's all bleach.
Yes.
Exactly. They all help clean the murder stain.
The what stain?
The
murder
murder
stain.
stain.
Murder
The
stain?
murder stain.
I've never heard it
Yeah.
put that way. The
Yeah.
murder stain.
Yeah. that's
It's like what is that on your sheet?
Well,
the
that's
murder
don't
murder
mind that.
stain.
That's my murder stain.
Yeah.
I haven't got the bleach out yet.
it killed thousands last night.
my
Oh.
gosh.
Thousands of
That was a
little
masturbation
babies.
joke.
Yeah.
I know.
God. And then he had to say it. That's a masturbation.
I just
Well,
had
I
to
can
go
tell
that
you
far.
right now, we're settling for cheap laughs.
We're very
Yeah.
PG-13 right now.
We should be.
Pushing the R.
There's kids watching.
Kids watching. Not this late at night. Go to bed,
that's their
kids.
bedtime.
Yeah. But I agree. There are times where, like I said, with the bleach, it's bleach. You
Yeah.
don't have to go all out with that. But like you said, I could buy an iPhone charger for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and it's going to last a week, and then have to buy another one. Or I could, even though I don't like
Splurge
to,
and
I
get-
could
yeah.
spend the money on that actual charger, and it does last significantly
I was going to
longer.
say, I think it really just depends on your preference. It's like for me, I obviously technology is where I start to get picky.
I agree.
And I'll sit down and I'll look over different options.
I'm buying a
and
TV.
even it's like exactly
Yeah.
TV, sound system, a computer. It's like if I'm looking, even software. I mean, there's things like for editing, or if I'm looking at something, I want to make sure it's quality.
But
and
at
I'll
that
pay
point,
for that quality.
at that point, you're already going to spend a good amount, because even a cheap TV is going to be a couple hundred. So it's like, if I'm already going to spend a good chunk of change,
yeah, but there's a difference between 200-300 versus like
1,000,
1,500.
yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
know.
when I bought my TV brand new a couple years ago, it was $1,700.
Well, see, I didn't spend
now
that
down
much.
to like $700.
I only spent
Yeah.
$500 on mine, but I always look for the deals too.
Yeah.
Like I always do Black Friday.
And that's the thing it's like, but again, so you're saying that it's still factored in to
Yeah.
you're choosing a TV, but it didn't necessarily factor in so much that you were willing to downgrade the quality.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of $500 sets
right.
that suck.
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely.
where I
Yeah.
think
I
though,
still
that-
had to make sure that it was going to be a good TV.
Yeah, but that's where I think quality outweighs like preference, because if you say it's up to preference, nobody wants a broken TV. That's not, it's not anybody's preference to have a crappy
Yeah.
iPhone charger that doesn't work half the time.
Right.
So when you're talking about something where it's actually like, if you get what you pay for,
Yeah.
those kind of
Yes,
things. Like with
yes.
bleach, yeah, I can see people overcharge for the name bleach, or Clorox
Yeah.
overcharges.
Yes.
But bleach is bleach.
Dude,
but
I'll
there's a
be-
big difference between a name brand HDMI cable and your $2 HDMI cable,
Right.
and you're going to find that out in the first week of buying it. So that's not preference. That's just common sense.
But that's not necessarily true either. Like my parents don't know or give a crap about. They'll buy whatever HDMI cable, and if the picture to me doesn't look great to them, they're like, "It's fine. It looks like a TV show."
No,
So,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
in a bad HDMI cable, you don't have a picture at all.
That's
or
true
You
if
have
it goes
lines
bad.
in your
or
picture,
or
it goes
I was
bad.
gonna say, or it starts cutting in and
Cutting
out.
in and
Yeah.
out.
But
yeah.
I'll be the first to admit, I have definitely jumped on like the Dollar Tree bandwagon when it comes to buying like dish soap.
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
like
Soap,
even
soap.
toilet-
I mean, that's-
I got my salt and
It's
pepper
still
shakers
soap.
from the Dollar
Yeah.
Tree. Why?
It's
Because
still
yeah. Why did I get salt and pepper shakers from the Dollar Tree? Because they're salt and pepper shakers.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's like-
glass.
It's,
It's all glass.
yeah.
it's like I could have
Exactly.
spent like $10 on that Walmart, but
Yeah.
why? They're
No
just
lie,
going
when
to
I'm
spit
sitting
salt
there
and pepper.
and I've got
Right.
like a full cart, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, man, that's
It's
a
gonna
lot
be
of
bad,
stuff.
and then it's
like,
$11.
Yeah, it's like $30. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, oh yeah,
yeah.
I saved.
Yeah.
And it is. It feels great.
Yeah, it
It
does.
feels great getting those deals. I'm
Yeah,
telling
but you wouldn't go, you wouldn't buy a $200 Acer laptop
exactly.
or
But
a
again,
netbook or whatever over an iMac
yeah,
or an
but
Apple.
there are some people who I think would say, I'm
Would.
not buying that toilet paper that's one ply. but
Oh,
I'm
I wouldn't
getting-
do that
I'm getting the
either.
Charmin.
My wife's picky about the
See,
toilet paper.
exactly.
I'm
So
picky about toilet
again,
paper, too.
that's
I'll
where
use the cheap stuff. I don't care.
I'm the
This-
same way,
this butt
especially
can
when you
take
got a
it.
bidet.
But yeah,
You
she
know?
has to buy that, the Charmin Ultra Soft or the Cottonelle or
I
something.
don't
I'm like,
buy
no, I
real
don't need
expensive
that.
toilet paper because I don't see the point in it. But I also don't
Well,
buy
it's to
the
get your ass clean.
Well, I'm saying-
That's the point.
Well, if it's expensive, I don't want to wipe my ass with something that's expensive. I'm not gonna.
I don't want to wipe it with my hand either.
But I don't buy the cheap stuff
Cheap
either. 'cause
toilet paper,
I
your
used to
hand
buy
goes through it.
the 89-cent toilet paper from Walmart.
Yeah.
But I would run through it way faster than the other stuff. So now it's like, okay, I'm
Well,
really not
because-
saving money
because you're actually it's one ply, so you'd use more.
Yeah. So I'm
it
like,
doesn't-
so
your
I was
hand
like,
doesn't
I'm
go
really
through
not
it.
saving money by buying this because
Yeah.
I'm using like twice as much. So I ended up compromising and getting something
But
comparable.
see, we've all had too
Yeah.
that regardless of what our preferences are on certain particulars.
Yeah.
It's like we also have times I think where we splurge, and it's like even though you probably don't need like something luxurious, you're just like, oh, but I really want that right now.
Mhm.
My
You
thing
know?
with technology is
Mhm.
like, if I have the means to make it happen, to get it,
I'm going to do it.
I'd rather have the best that there is right now
Yes.
than get something that's obsolete today. I'd rather have something that's going to be obsolete tomorrow
Right.
than something that's obsolete today.
And you know, that's the crazy thing is, the moment it shows up on your doorstep, it's obsolete.
Absolutely.
But the difference is it's like
You get some
I'm
life
It's not
satisfied
last year's model.
where
it's
I know,
this year.
right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know when I bought my TV, I'm like, I know because the TV I had before that, I had for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I'm going to keep this TV for 10 years, I want a top of the line model. And then when I'm ready to upgrade from it, I'll upgrade to the next top of the line model that's 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
It's like I'm satisfied and okay with having a TV that's a few years old to say that it looks fine and the technology doesn't change so dramatically in that fashion.
I've had my MacBook for 10 years, and yes, I spent
Yeah.
a lot of money on it when I bought it back in 2010. But at the same time, that much money I've gotten my money's worth with, because I guarantee you any PC laptop I had bought 10 years ago would not be running
in
half
10 years,
as
you'd go through 3 of them.
Yes.
Probably.
It would be
Yeah.
those Acer $200 laptops, like
yeah.
you said.
So
It definitely, I agree. I mean, it depends, and I think as at least between us, I know we're pretty common sense consumers that we at least weigh our options, especially because it depends on whether or not your bank account can afford
Right.
it, or you have a wife who's like, you ain't buying that.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, it's like you kind of weigh, well, what can I splurge on, and where do I splurge versus nah, we can cut ties there and save a buck.
and how
we
much
don't
bleach
have
do
to-
I need after I splurge?
Oh.
for that murder stain?
Murder stain.
God's sakes.
Wow.
You
I had to bring
go
it back.
to
I
it.
had
that
to.
was a good moment to bring it back.
I had
to.
to.
That was.
I had to
that
go back.
was. Well, another good
Yeah.
vices segment. I think
Yeah.
ultimately it's like, it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Luxurious and cheap.
Mhm.
It's in the middle.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Get your goat.
Well, guys, I think it's been
Tickles your pickle.
a fantastic dilly's your dally.
Yes.
It's getting late. It's getting late.
It is. Well, we
Well, we
started,
started
late.
a little
We
late.
started a little late this
So,
evening.
But
We're
it was,
not too
it was
bad.
worth it, though. Brad being here and
Yes.
being on the show was worth it. It was worth it having a guest. We like to do that every now and then.
We
and
do like to have guests.
like it.
Very happy with our
Chick-fil-A?
guest this week.
Mm.
We never
What y'all
did
think
talk
about-
about
what y'all think about
the
that?
Kanye
Think
album.
about that Kanye album,
I
man.
know you ripped it, man.
Oh,
You
it's
didn't
not
like
good.
it.
It's #1 album in the nation
It's
right
not
now.
good.
You
I've
didn't
seen
like it?
It's terrible.
Did you listen to it and like
from,
it?
from
I
front
like
to
it.
back?
It was
there,
a
there-
bunch of-
there were
serious?
about 3 or 4 songs on there I actually really
There are a
liked.
couple songs that were decent, but Chick-fil-A was just a bunch of gibberish and nonsense.
Closed on Sunday. You my Chick-fil-A.
I was listening to it, and
Closed on
I'm not.
Sunday.
I'm not going to question.
You my number
When I listened to it, I
one
thought it was a
with
joke. Like the
lemonade.
whole album. I listened to
Yeah.
it on Apple, and I was like, this ain't the real. This is
He,
Saturday
he,
Night
he
Live.
talks the talk
This
just
is a
fine.
joke.
Like I said, I'm not going to question Kanye's faith because I would never do that to anybody. And when you hear him talk about it, he seems legitimate.
Yeah.
But when I listened
was
to,
gonna say,
when I listened to his album, I felt like the album sounded like somebody who has been told like Bible stories, but have never actually followed
Right.
like Christianity.
Well,
It
here's
just-
the thing. I actually appreciated his conversation with. I listened to it was on Beats One
Mhm.
with Zane. I think Zayd Wolf or whatever. I forget
Yeah.
his name, but he actually did a lengthy interview on there. He's definitely,
He's
I
still
don't, I, don't,
Kanye.
I was gonna say I don't
He's
want
still
I don't wanna
Kanye.
judge, but
Yeah.
it's like being somebody who is in the faith. It's like yes, he's a very new member of
Yeah.
the faith.
Oh yeah,
There's
he's
nothing
young.
wrong with it.
Yeah, he's a young.
But I thought it was funny because it was like while I'm sitting here listening to his album, and there's some parts where, and trust me, I'm not sitting here thinking, yeah, it's all. I mean, he's selling. He's like he's selling sweatpants with Jesus is King for like $250.
Exactly.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I will say, apart
If
from
it-
that, I also didn't like his plug with. He's now best friends with Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
On
Oh,
like
yeah.
Instagram.
Well,
and
that
on
was one of the
Twitter.
things. He was on James Corden. Is that how you say his last
yeah,
name?
yeah.
He was on there, and James was asking him. I forgot exactly what question he asked him, but he said, because me and my wife were watching, I was like, did he just do prosperity gospel? Because I'm pretty sure he did.
Oh yeah, he did.
But he was
Oh,
like,
he
yeah,
does.
like I was $30 million in the hole, and then I became a Christian and started doing only Christian music, and now I'm like 65 plus, and I'm like, that's the prosperity gospel.
Yeah,
That's,
it is.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I can understand the Joel Osteen
Yeah.
thing.
Well, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, I don't.
If he
think-
brings even one person to Christ, then it's like, okay, that's
Well, even
good.
apart
So
from that,
I'm not
I
going to
think
rip him
that-
for that.
yeah.
You know?
I think at the end of the day, he is genuine in his own walk, and yeah, he's got some. He's led astray a little bit. and
Yes.
he needs some. But again, I think he is
He's been led astray
intelligent.
his whole life. He's just
Right.
now. He says that he's like I was asleep, and I just now woke
Right.
up. And I'm
And
like,
that's
yeah,
the
you're a
thing.
little groggy. Being asleep for that long.
He woke up and he said, Chick-fil-A.
You
Closed
my
on
number
Sunday.
one with
With
a
the lemonade. I'm serious, man. We went to see, what was the last movie? Not before Terminator, but the one before that.
I don't remember.
Well, y'all
What did we
listen-
do?
what we go
Lighthouse.
see? Oh,
The
the
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
way home from the Lighthouse,
Y'all were-
I listened to the whole thing
I
because
wasn't
I had an
there.
hour
Here's
the
drive,
thing.
and I was like, "This is not real."
There were probably about 4 or 5 songs that I actually liked. I thought were good, and then there were a couple where I was like,
I haven't listened to all of it, so
But
I'll have to listen to the whole thing and see if there's any I like.
Follow God. I gotta look.
But
hold
there
on.
was I listened to about 3 songs, and the 3 I listened to, I was just like, ooh, I don't know about
Yeah.
this. So I'll listen
one
to
of
the
them
whole
was
thing.
like only 40 seconds long or something. It was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
what in
yeah.
the world is that?
Well, but even then, I do feel like it's genuine. I think obviously he's got a
Oh
lot of
yeah, I
growing
think
to
it's
do.
genuine.
No, I'm
But
not
at the same
questioning
time,
his faith.
I don't think we'll see what he does from here.
Yes.
But I didn't absolutely hate the album.
Well,
I'll just
if
put
we
it that way. I didn't hate it as much as I
if
think
we weren't
you all.
running late before, we are.
Yeah.
And we just ended with Kanye.
Yeah,
Well-
1 out of 4 stars on Kanye's new album for me.
Okay, well I give it 3.
I've reserved.
3. I just did that on
I
purpose.
reserve. I'm not going to rate it until I listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
right.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're good to wrap it up this week.
Yeah.
Let's wrap
do
it
it.
up.
We'll have our Kanye discussion after we turn off the mic.
Make that
Okay.
the multimedia.
Until next week, guys. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
so until next week, guys, we
We'll
will
see
see
you
you
at
at
the
the movies.
movies.
That was awful.
Yep.
No, terrible.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.